Welcome to Love Lizzy. I'm your host, Teresa Sabatine, daughter of a philosopher and a psychologist who spent my childhood evenings nestled between psychology textbooks while my mother pursued her master's degree. Even before I understood what it meant, I became a light worker, deeply feeling and naturally attuned to the energy and emotions of others. When I was 22, my mother, Lizzy, a therapist, feminist, and community builder, was taken by breast cancer. Her absence created a darkness I carried until I realized I could transform that grief into light. And so, Love Lizzy was born. My offering to continue the legacy of the woman who taught me how to listen with my whole heart and provide a shelter for others in the storm. For over a decade now, I've had the privilege to guide CEOs, founders, and hundreds of women toward their authentic purpose, helping them build and grow businesses, get unstuck, harness their unique talents, and navigate life's uncertainties. On this podcast, our community brings questions about love, purpose, creativity, and grief. And I offer both comfort and practical tools, continuing my mother's legacy of holding space for those seeking wisdom on their journey. I'm so glad you are here. Let's dive in. In the season finale of the Love Lizzy podcast, a woman calls in regarding a matter of the heart. How do you know the difference between a heart-led knowing and being a fool? Do you trust your friends and loved ones' reflections? Do they sometimes see what you can't see? We touch on the feeling of being in the heart and how to know that you are in a heart-led decision. We also touch on the idea that love is never war. And if something is off with your body, you're feeling very anxious, you aren't processing easily, it might be a sign you aren't in a heart-aligned situation. I hope this conversation reminds you that you are a queen, that you are a precious, unique being who should be treated as such, and that all heart alignment scenarios might not be perfectly tied up with a bow or a fairy tale, but they certainly aren't dangerous or full of self-compromise. If you have something on your heart or mind that you want to talk out with Lizzy, we are currently taking calls and submissions for season 2. It has been such a joy to go on this season 1 journey with you, and I am so excited for what comes next for Love Lizzy and this community. I love you. You are a beautiful human. Let's dive into the question.
Hi, I just need some advice about following my heart. I have a situation where there's a lot of hope and love in my heart to pursue something, even though some of the things I see around me and people that I have around me are telling me that I shouldn't pursue that. And sometimes I think that I am foolishly holding hope and putting energy into this. So I'm wondering, how can I understand the difference between a hopeful heart and a foolish pursuit?
When it comes down to really understanding if what is in your heart is what you really want to pursue, like how to know that your heart is steering you in the right direction, I want you to consider that other people's reflections are a mirror. If you have people around you that are mirroring back to you that they're not sure if that's the right thing for you, they're showing you doubt about your decisions. I mean, a lot of times people will reflect back to us the challenges that we're experiencing. So I always think about the people that I love and trust, that I share things with, as tools of reflection for an internal part of me that might be wrestling with my own doubt and projecting that doubt onto the world. Now, that's a pretty heady subject. That's an intellectual way of thinking about it, is going into the brain and being like, okay, when I listen to my friends or I listen to the people that love me and they're showing me doubt, that I need to think about what internal part of me is projecting that doubt onto them so that I can hear that, right? So I can hear that. A lot of times I'll call up a friend or I'll call up someone that I care about that I think has an opinion that I respect, and I will dialogue with them because it helps me process what I have going on inside of me. What they're doing is they're helping you shine light on something inside of you that could potentially be worked out in your own self. And they're just the mirror. I think about this in the sense of me following the dream of Love Lizzy. I have this really grand vision for Love Lizzy, and it is sometimes so big that I feel kind of delusional. We talk about delusion here a lot this season on Love Lizzy. Sometimes with Love Lizzy and what I see for her and the life that she can have in the world, I become overwhelmed by the fact that that could be possible. And then I take those doubts or confusing components that come up in my brain, like pragmatism, practicality, the how, like how am I going to make what's manifest in my heart manifest in the real world? And I get all jumbled and overwhelmed. And then I turn to other people to try to help me process that, because sometimes when I'm processing it in my own heart and mind, it gets too jumbled and I really am seeking additional perspective and I'm wanting to bounce my ideas or my feelings off of someone else so that they can provide a sacred space for me to think things through. Here's what I'm going to say about the thinking brain and the heart space. What our heart desires, I find, is often in feelings. When my heart is calling to me, it's because of a particular way that I want to feel in my life. And the brain is like the scaffolding of a building. The vision that I have in my heart, which is the emotion and the color and the texture and the overall picture of what it desires and how I'm seeing that desire potential to come to life. We call these downloads from your channel. Like I'm getting this download from my channel, whether that's I've fallen in love with someone and I'm visualizing our love story and I can like see all the possibilities of that love story. That's what I would say is in like a fifth dimension kind of space. It's up here. It's high up. If you could see me right now, you would see my hands going above my head and kind of making all this big space for the thing that I can see in this kind of higher dimension, this place that my channel calls to me. And then we have what we call the 3D, which is this microphone that I'm literally touching, this camera that's taking a video of me. What we're often doing when we're pursuing something from the heart space is that we're trying to connect the heart space in the higher dimension with the 3D. Working with the heart space and the mind space is a practice. It's almost like a skill that you want to practice of, yes, playing the fool, pursuing a foolish heart space idea in the pragmatic realm of making it manifest in front of me. Going back to those projections of the people that love us, sharing with us their concerns, those are just data points in the 3D. You're going out of the heart space into the thinking space, into the pragmatic space, and you're saying, how am I going to make this so? And here are the obstacles I'm coming up to as I try to make it so. And I'm questioning my ability to make the heart space manifest in the physical. Why everybody talks about our thoughts and the importance of our thoughts and our beliefs and our values is because if our thoughts and our beliefs and our values are not aligned with the heart space, we will work with those beliefs and we will constantly come up against challenge and obstacle and have that feeling of questioning whether we can trust that what the heart wants, because there are some things that happen in the heart space, in my experience, that are really just meant to stay in the heart space. And what I mean by that is they're codings that help us cope with the reality space. The dreamy space, the heart space is almost like an escape space. It's a place where we can go when the reality gets really daunting and overwhelming and our scaffolding might be falling or there's an obstacle in the physical manifestation of the thing we're trying to have manifest. And we return to the heart space for wisdom. We return to the heart space for inspiration and understanding. And what I have found in coaching hundreds of people and my own self is that we don't return to that heart space enough. And we really create a disconnect between the heart space and the thinking space because we get stuck in the reality of the physical space. And all of this might seem a little weird to you if you've never thought about life in dimensions or spaces or channels. Anytime you're trying to make manifest something from the heart space into the physical space, you're going to have times where you're like, I'm seeing it in the heart space, but it is not making it so in the physical space. When you get that friction from the physical space, there are ways to pursue analysis, spiritual and practical analysis about whether those obstacles are telling you that you're headed in the wrong direction. How you're trying to manifest the heart space vision is not the correct path or the path that aligns with the heart space. Because sometimes we get so obsessed with how we see something in the heart space that we are not open to the co-creation that occurs when we bring that into the reality space. How do I give you an example? When it comes to Love Lizzy, I have a lot of heart space ideas. They're really meaningful to me and they feel very real to me. I want to architect them quickly and effectively. I'm really ready. I'm ready to be living in that Love Lizzy vision in real life. Sometimes because of fear and doubt and skepticism in my own self, I have walked the wrong path towards that Love Lizzy vision. And I have compromised my vision for an immediate high of something adjacent. That doubt about what I want in my heart can be made manifest comes into the 3D and it creates me compromising on the heart space idea. And what do I mean by compromise? Allowing someone into my space that may not actually hold the values and the alignment of the heart space completely. It might look like going, I love that. I feel pretty good around it. I think it's good enough. And I'm just going to take it because if I accept this offer in the 3D, I'm closer to the heart space idea. And that is good enough. And what happens when we compromise our values of the heart space concept of the foolish pursuit, and we let the 3D obstacles make us believe that what we want actually isn't out there, that's when we become foolish because we allow things in that aren't actually in alignment so that we can get immediate gratification of the heart space vision without the patience, creativity, diligence, and hard work that is required in the 3D to make our vision a reality. I see this a lot when it comes to matters of the heart, especially in love. I have found myself in the 3D space, so not in my heart space, but in the reality space, alone, feeling really alone, feeling really like I don't want to do it alone. I don't want to do this life without someone else. I want the 3D to look a certain way and I need that to look a certain way. And then I meet somebody and something isn't right completely. Something is a little bit off and I ignore that and I compromise to get the immediate feeling of aloneness or loneliness gone. Like hot button out of that icky feeling. What we're really talking about here when we talk about the fool and the foolishness, or we talk about a full-hearted pursuit, is we play the fool when we gaslight our own selves that this 3D thing that is not 100% it is good enough. And we're going to literally compromise the higher vision, the heart vision, for this immediate gratification. This can show up in a lot of ways, which is like choosing a partner who is kind of it, and you have enough feelings for, but it is not that, oh, dang, I really am so excited and in value alignment. Instead, you compromise your values and you're in a situation where you're constantly in values misalignment. And that might lead to disgruntled behavior, frustration, resentment. You might actually be interacting with someone who is not 100% in value alignment with you and your heart space but it's close enough that you've compromised. And now you're telling yourself, well, this is what I wanted. And so I have to put up with all of this dark value misalignment interactions. And that's just what it takes. If we're talking about the heart space and we're talking about what Love Lizzy is here to do, and we're talking about women especially, I notice that we compromise our internal trust. We give that trust to someone else and they do not know how to take care with that because we were in a fear space when we made that agreement. And that agreement can be a partnership, a relationship romantically, a client, a friend, compromising what really mattered to me and what I felt like I wanted creates pain for me in the future because I have not made manifest my true value system. And if you're getting a little bit lost between holding the line with your vision and allowing the universe to co-create, let me just clarify for you that sometimes when you are on the right path, there are struggles and you kind of feel it. And especially in relationship, whether it's a work relationship or a romantic relationship, whatever you're calling in about your heart space, there is definitely a scenario where you're in a relationship and there is conflict. And you're in a relationship and you have to say, this person wants this thing and I want this thing. And now we're going to have to compromise. And that means my vision is going to change a little bit. Those things all occur. But if you are in the 3D and you are not safe in yourself, if you are feeling compromised in yourself, if you are feeling like you have to swallow what you actually need, if you feel like you are actually being treated in a way that you never asked for, that you never wanted, that is clear, cut, and dry. We are not going to gaslight ourselves. Women have been forced to stay in situations that do not work for them because of safety and security. I want to make a very clear distinction. The foolishness that we have been programmed to embrace is that we have to compromise very heavily to get what we need. Anytime you are in a situation where you are being mistreated, you are not in the heart space. You are not in trust with your heart because love of something and love back at you is not warfare. It is not extreme struggle. It is not extreme misuse of the relationship code. If you are in a relationship or a situation where you've been trying to manifest something from the heart space and you are being harmed emotionally or physically, that is not the heart. That is not the higher self. That is not it. And we talk about karma and we talk about, oh, well, until you heal yourself, you'll stay in situations until you get your healing. No. You do not have to heal your own karma and trauma to be in relationships where you are loved and respected, to be in situations where you are treated with love and respect. That is a bare minimum requirement of any partnership, relationship, or love space. If you are feeling like the struggles of you trying to manifest the heart space are giving you signals back that are extremely difficult, extremely emotionally unsafe, and there is enough disconnect for you to literally feel like you're being harmed, then you are not in the right space for that heart space idea to come to life. We often will grind our teeth and suffer through situations because we think on the other side of that suffering is some magical Narnia that everything's going to be better. There are real relationship conflicts where you have an argument and something goes wrong and you decide to make a change and you decide to pursue a better way to communicate, a better way to engage, a better way to behave. That is relationships 101. But if someone is literally creating an environment with their own behavior that is not safe for you, that is not when we compromise. Just know, we believe in a world where women's safety and security and mental health are not compromised for them to have what they need to live a full, beautiful, creative, wonderful life. If your body is giving you signals that you are sick in an environment, if your body is telling you that this situation is not good for you, and then that's reflected back to you in the people that love you and care about you, it's not your heart that is playing the fool. It's your 3D self that is compromising, thinking that that compromise is how you get the heart manifestation. Let's really break that down between suffering and hard work, suffering and discipline, suffering and commitment to difficulty that is required to overcome or to build something. Suffering is where I am in compromise and I am emotionally or physically compromised to have what I need. When we move out of that space, we get the opportunity to say, I am willing to sweat for something. I am willing to change for something. I am willing to learn a hard lesson for something. But we are not going to look in the mirror when someone else is perpetuating a behavior that is not good for us over and over again and tell ourselves that that is what is required for us to have love, or that is what is required for us to have our dream. That is a narrative that has been sold to women for centuries for us to survive. So here at Love Lizzy, how do we describe that you are either a fool or in the pursuit of your heart space and this vision that you have and what you want? Is that like there's a good level of difficulty? There's a little bit of compromise. You might have difficulty bringing your vision to life in the world and run up against some resistance. But suffering, compromising your safety and your stability and your true desires, no. We're not doing that here. How do you know the difference? How do you know the difference between a hopeful pursuit and a foolish pursuit? The fool is someone who is willing to compromise for an immediate gratification, but while doing that is compromising the long-term opportunity. Foolishness is the belief that you have to compromise your safety and stability to get something in return. That is a lie. That is a lie that women have been told so that we can be kept in situations where our power is diminished, our light is diminished. There is a frequency to a heart space manifestation and the synchronicity of the heart space versus you being compromised by someone else's lack of value alignment with you or the situation being not in value alignment. I can give you examples of how I have honed my skill of advocating for my heart space vision, advocating for my values, and not letting others make me feel like I have to compromise to get what I need. I was working on a TV show for a studio. I was young. I was in my 20s, and I had been working in Chicago for a while. And this team comes into town from California. I'm so grateful that when I was living in Chicago, that those producers wanted to bring that opportunity to us. Some of those producers were amazing. Some of them were really great. I learned a lot. Other ones were awful people. And I was in a position where I was often alone in the production offices. My team that I worked with was often in the city going around doing their work. I was kind of holding court at the office. I was often interacting with this producer in particular alone. He first started coming to my door in a very subtle way, saying inappropriate things to me. An example of something inappropriate is me asking him to approve the police budget for a location and then saying to me, well, why don't you just wear a bikini and stand in the middle of the road and all the cars will move for you? Why do we need police? That was his first attempt at seeing where my boundaries were, seeing where I was willing to compromise my own values to have him like me. That was just one of the many things he said standing at my door. So I started to realize pretty quickly that this guy was scary, but I also wasn't willing to compromise my internal trust of myself. That's the lesson I've always trying to teach myself is you have what you need. You have what it takes. You are safe. You are powerful. You could make it in any situation. That power of self-trust and self-reliance, being a woman in the world where I am often in situations where I could potentially be overpowered. He says this to me. I start to put up my red flag. I don't like this person. I don't like the way this feels. This is not the vibration in my body when I am feeling in alignment in relationship. And the difference there is that I had a male boss who was awesome. He was so great. And he was my biggest fan. And he was always encouraging me. And he was always sharing the knowledge I needed to learn. And he was always including me, and he always had my back no matter what. I could see just side by side the difference between a heart-aligned partnership or situation and a value misalignment situation, and a relationship where I was not in the heart space alignment. And if I had a choice, I would never be in a room with this man ever. But I worked there. And so I was wrestling with the compromise of, I have to work for this man. He pays my bills. And I know that I don't like what I'm feeling. And I know I don't like what's going on here, but he pays my bills. So what am I supposed to do? Do I laugh when he says these things to me? Do I make jokes when he pulls me into his office and no one else is there and he shuts the door and he says inappropriate things to me? I made a decision in that moment for my life, because the immediate gratification was, this pays my bills. It's an incredible opportunity. The movie business is all built on your experience. So if you have credits with the major networks and the major studios, you're likely to get hired again. My immediate need was to be safe, but also to keep my job. The long-term vision for my life was to be an empowered woman with her own stability and access to the financials that she needed to procure the life she wanted, to learn how to make movies and TV and be a leader in the space. That was my long play. This situation was presenting me with a potential compromise to my higher self vision, which was that I don't get treated like that. I don't stay in situations where people disrespect me and talk to me that way because I don't have to. That's the woman I wanted to be. That's my true highest self. She's like, you are a scumbag and I don't have to put up with this. But at 26, when I need to pay my bills and I'm just starting out in my career, the compromise in front of me was to treat this man as if he wasn't a predator, but he was a predator. And he was trying to pull me into his darkness and make me compromise my own values for survival. The next time he pulled me into his office, he said some really awful things. And I was in a closed door situation. I needed my budget approved. He told me how he had been talking about me inappropriately with other men on the crew. And he made some comment about how, oh, those guys down in the construction department are really protective of you. Like, oh, wow, you've really got these guys protecting you. And I just stared at him. And then he made some sexual overture to me about something we could do together and what I should be doing with my body. And he told me that this is what he tells his daughter. And I looked him straight in the face and I said, I really hope you don't talk to your daughter that way. That's disgusting. Are you going to approve my line item? And he approved my line item and I walked out of his door and I never went back into his office again. The other men around me wanted to help me. They kept saying, this guy's kind of creeping us out. Do you want us to intervene? And I was like, no, because I don't need that right now. If I need that, I'll let you know. I know that's a very complex example, but I do really want you to look at the difference between a heart space aligned relationship with my boss, who was this amazing human, who took care of me, who opened doors for me, who treated me with respect, who never raised his voice, who never used his masculine against my feminine, who never made me feel like I was an object, versus this guy who was clearly trying to control me and make me feel a certain way in his presence so that I would adhere to his wants and desires. And he was pushing that line. And it was up to me instinctually to know that even though compromise in that moment felt like security and stability, I'm going to accept this behavior because I need this job. Me not engaging in that behavior was a message to the universe that I believe that aligned, loving, positive, amazing relationships at work, in my personal life, wherever, are available to me. And I will not compromise myself. There are enough humans walking this earth, enough opportunities in this world, enough abundance in this world, enough money, resources, connections, spaces for you to literally only work and live and love and be with people who treat you with loving kindness. There is enough to go around where you do not have to stay in situations where you are treated poorly and you are asked to consistently compromise your safety. I want to encourage you to go to the heart space about this. Go into your heart space and ask yourself, are the reflections that I'm getting from the people that I love that are telling me that this isn't good for me or I'm not on the right track? Is that their fear because they don't want me to have a hard day or they don't want me to have difficulty? Because that's possible. But is it actually the mirror that I need to see that I have been accepting less than I deserve? That I have been compromising my dream for immediate gratification or for the achievement of that dream without actually getting what I really want? Have I been saying to myself that this is good enough? It's not exactly what I felt I deserved. It's not exactly what I thought I wanted, but it's okay and it's good enough. So I should just take it, right? No. I want you to return to that heart space. I want you to sit with that part of you. And I want you to really get in touch with that heart space and say to yourself, what will I feel when I am in true alignment with my heart vision? What are the signals that I need to be aware of that will help me guide myself through the journey of making manifest the 3D version of the vision I have in my heart in the 5D? That heart space is a tool for you to reconnect with the deeper feeling of when something is in alignment. It's a tool. It doesn't mean that Love Lizzy for me is going to manifest exactly how I plan it out. But what I'm looking for in a match of my heart space in the 3D space is the same vibration. That vibration is up to me to move in the world towards the things that feel like I want them to feel and away from the things that force me to compromise my safety and my security. Safety and security to me is not necessarily the ability to pay my bills or have enough money in the capitalistic society. That's like another monopoly game that we can talk about later, is like, how do you make money and how do you survive a capitalistic society? But when we're talking about our own safety and security, I mean that you are treated with love and care, that you feel like when you enter that environment or that space, that you are held and protected. I am giving you permission right now that if you have convinced yourself that you are on a heart-driven journey, and in that journey, you are being mistreated, disrespected, harmed, or asked to consistently compromise your needs or your values, that you step off that path right away. Because when you step off the wrong path and you take a step, a micro step, a mini step, a small baby step onto the path that is more in alignment with the true heart space and vision that you have for how you want to live your life, immediately you will get synchronicity. Immediately something will be shown to you that is more in alignment and better because you had the courage to say, I will not stand for less than what I deserve. I will not show up to spaces where I am not treated the way I want to be treated. I will not compromise my values for money, for safety, for security. It's the belief that you are deserving of the greatest version of your vision in your heart and that you will not allow yourself to be compromised. Because you're afraid that if you let go of this kind of it thing, this mediocre version or even dangerous version or shitty version of what you have made manifest, that if you let go of that, that what you want is never going to be available to you. That is the trap. We are not going to stay trapped in restrictive thinking about our ability to be treated and live with joy and safety and love and connection and respect, and that we are going to get immediate gratification through a values compromise, which actually compromises our grander vision. I have received enough phone calls, enough messages, enough secret conversations about women being mistreated in a multitude of ways and telling themselves that that's the price they have to pay. And I'm done. The kind of fool that I want to ignite in you, the kind of foolishness that I want to stroke the flames for, is the foolishness that you deserve everything you desire. is that you deserve to be treated like a queen, that you deserve to be treated with love and kindness and to have relationships that are cultivating magic. That's the kind of fool I want to play here at Love Lizzy. And I believe every woman on this earth deserves to be in loving, uplifting, amazing, creative, prosperous relationships in every area of her life. That's the fool. That's the beautiful, amazing fool that if Lizzy were here, she would tell you to play. And a hopeful heart is not a problem. A hopeful heart is not a deficit. A hopeful heart is a tool. Your hopeful heart is your partner on this journey of being in a situation and asking yourself, what does my hopeful heart think about this? Does my hopeful heart think that I deserve to be treated this way to get what I need, to get what I want, to live a life that I desire? Most of the time, if you're out of your gaslighting head that has taught you to be treated like shit to get what you want, to compromise so aggressively to get what you need and want, that you need to be mistreated and disrespected and put in harm's way, that's the brain and that's society. That is not your heart space. That is not a higher power. That is a dark, drabby, dangerous dialogue that we have had to live under to get to where we are right now. But the times have changed and women do not need to be treated this way to have a lovely, amazing life, to have a lovely, amazing family, to have a lovely, amazing business or career. If somebody or some situation is not in value alignment for you, it's a hell no. You can always come back here to Love Lizzy to be reminded that you being treated with loving kindness and respect in any area of your life is the bare minimum. I love you. I'm rooting for you. I hope you play the greatest fool that has ever existed and you pursue your heart space vision with gusto and confidence that it is going to come to you in synchronicity and beauty and love and creativity and abundance. And that the kind of hard work that we're talking about to manifest your dream does not include abuse, disrespect, suffering, and extreme compromise. I recommend that you get out of your head, stop analyzing things, trust the mirror that is being mirrored back to you. If the people that you love are truly coming to you to say, I don't know, this doesn't seem like you, this doesn't seem like it. All the times that I ignored people telling me that, and then later was like, oh shit. Okay, I guess maybe they had something important to say and I wasn't listening. Because I had convinced myself that what I wanted required all of that pain and agony and hardship, wrong direction. If enough of the people that you love over time are telling you that they think there's something more aligned out there for you where you don't have to be treated that way or compromised that way, they likely have some truth in what they're saying. And I want you to look for what you feel is true. Don't analyze what they say. Listen to what they say and ask yourself, what do I want to do with this data? That's the question. Interpret that data from the heart space, not from the pros and cons space, not from the head space, not from the fear space. I don't want to lose love. I don't want to lose connection. I don't want to lose business opportunity. I don't want to lose money. No, that is not how we're going to make decisions. Get in touch with the heart space. Get in touch with the vision. Remind yourself what it looks and tastes and feels and smells like to be in alignment. And then use that as the bumpers on the bowling lane of where that ball is going to go. That's how you stay in alignment. I'm not compromising these. I'm not going to go outside of these parameters that my heart has given me as a roadmap to how to keep myself on track and in alignment to pursue what is meant for me. If you have something you want to talk out with Lizzy, we are now producing season 2, and we would love to hear your questions and what's on your heart and see if we can help you work through them and gain some wisdom on your journey. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Imagine that you just listened to the podcast and you have so many thoughts and feelings running through your body. Maybe you're thinking of actually taking action on something that you've been stuck on, or maybe you heard something really resonant on the podcast and you want to explore it deeper. Well, now you can. You're cordially invited to the Love Lizzy Patreon community. The Patreon community is a simple, streamlined way for us to connect with you between podcast episodes, answer your burning questions, and just get to know you a little better. If you've been looking for some love and you want that one-stop place you can go where you know it's always going to be supportive and there's always going to be someone on your side, then the Love Lizzy Patreon community is definitely for you. You can find us at patreon.com/Love Lizzy. That's LOVELIZZY. I hope to see you there. This podcast is produced by Love Lizzy. Our editor is Kayla Hill, and the music is by my very own sister, Julia Sabatine. If you like what you heard here, we would love for you to hit the subscribe button. See you next time.